Thank you, Senator Fisher. Senator Shaheen.
General Caine, congratulations on your nomination, and thank you for your willingness to continue to serve the country. I appreciated the time we spent in my office talking about this role and the challenges that you will be facing. One of the things that we discussed was the Women, Peace, and Security legislation that was signed by President Trump during his first term, and it mandates that women should be at the table in conflict resolution and peace negotiations. And at DOD, that's meant having women involved in security cooperation programs that really give us, I think, an advantage over our adversaries like China and Russia. Can you, just for the record, are you familiar with the WPS program, General Caine?
I am, Senator, yes.
And do you believe that's a DEI program?
I do not.
Thank you. Can you provide some examples of the operational advantage that, from your perspective, this gives us?
Well, Senator, I can just give you my own personal recollections from being deployed before. This was precursors of the program, but when we would go out into the field and after concluding an assault, we would have female members who would, speak with those women and children who were on the objective, and they would help us to understand the human terrain in a new and novel way. And so WPS is, I think, a program that really helps us to understand the full spectrum of challenges that are in front of us.
Thank you for that. One of the combatant commands that has been most effective in using the WPS law has been INDOPACOM. Can you talk about how this contributes to the mission that INDOPACOM has?
Well, Senator, I'm not familiar with the INDOPACOM specific example. If confirmed, I'll look into it and come back to you with my thoughts on that matter.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that. We've been hearing some rumors that have suggested that the administration is considering ending the dual hat policy under which our commander of European Command serves as the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. The commander of EUCOM has served as the Supreme Allied Commander since Eisenhower, and part of the reason is to ensure that U.S. command and control of nuclear weapons on the continent also prevents nuclear proliferation in Europe. So I'm not going to ask you to comment on what the policy of this administration may or may not be, since I assume it's not been determined. But can you talk about the importance of U.S. leadership in NATO as a result of this dual hat arrangement, and how would you approach mill-to-mill obligations with NATO partners?
Well, Senator, allies and partners are a critical component to our ability to protect and defend our values and virtues around the world. NATO is a key component to that. The President's been clear on his views of the importance of NATO, as has the Secretary. Related to whether or not SACEUR stays a U.S. military officer, I'll defer to the President on that. I think that's a discussion that he currently is ongoing. But for me in particular, I value our allies and partners, and if confirmed, that'll be a significant portion of the job that I have ahead of me.
Well, and I appreciate that that's a policy decision, but what I'm really asking is what the advantage is for the United States in having the SACEUR be an American.
And, Senator, as always, anytime we have U.S. forces deployed, we generally have wanted them under a U.S. commander, and that was the history behind the establishment of SACEUR and putting the dual hat EUCOM commander and SACEUR together. And I think it is an opportunity for global leadership, in particular in Europe, but again, would defer to the President as he considers what the future policy may look like.
And I know that Senator Reid asked you this question, and it was part of your official questions from Senator Wicker. But when you have situations where your military advice may be different from the direction that the administration is heading on policy, how do you intend to approach those situations, and how would you continue to make sure that the military perspective that you're supposed to represent is actually being presented?
Well, Senator, the same way I have for 34 years with candor. Candor has gotten me here today, and candor will continue to allow me to do my job moving forward. The president doesn't have to accept the military advice or the secretary of the NSC, but we owe it to them for us to deliver that military advice.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator